So I've got a few quotes that I'll go through. Some of them you may be well familiar with. Let food be thy medicine, and let medicine be food. Hippocrates. No, doctors still say the Hippocratic Oath. Same guy. They missed this line though. Food, medicine, medicine, food. They work both ways. So what you eat should keep you healthy, and when you are sick, food should get you back to health. But today, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to get out there. People seem to think they need to go for cut, burn, poison therapy and chemistry. And look, those could be a solution, but first, get to basics, you know? What else have we got? And we have made of ourselves living cesspools and driven doctors to invent names for our diseases. Pt2. I mean, poor doctors, they come up with disease names like every day, new diseases coming out. On my workshops, I tell people, please do not ask me to help you with any disease condition, because likely I won't even know what you're talking about. Because they'll tell me their disease, and I'm like, I have no idea what that is. You just pick it out of a hat. The base, the foundation, the cause, almost all of it is the same. Genetics only accounts for around 2% of disease. 2%, 2 out of 100. The rest of it's lifestyle. People just doing lifestyle badly. And to be fair, I mean, that's easy to do because the whole Western program is to do lifestyle really badly. Human body heals itself, and nutrition provides the resources to accomplish the task. This is a great one for me because often people think, the Rawlicious diet or green juice is going to heal me. And I'm like, no. Food can't heal you. Your body is designed to heal itself. All you have to do is get out of its way. Stop poisoning it and nutrify it. Simple as that. You know, you cut yourself, it heals. If it doesn't heal, there's something going on. You know, there's a problem. What's the problem? Then you try and figure it out. Is there an infection? Is your immune system depressed? So someone has, you know, something like heart disease, and they think, what's going on? It's not contagious. So where did it come from? Vitality and beauty are gifts of nature for those who live according to its laws. Leonardo da Vinci. So nature gives these gifts freely. I mean, look at all the other animals on the planet. They're pretty healthy. Unless, of course, we're feeding them. Like domesticated animals, because they also have cancer and diabetes and all these crazy things. And humans, of course, are the sickest animal on the planet. You're like, why are we the sickest animal on the planet? I mean, you could talk about that for hours. No one really knows. But we've got some pretty good guesses. One of the things that definitely has been happening is that our food supply has radically changed over the last 50 years. People think today that they're eating the same food that was being eaten 100 years ago, and it is just not true. The food supply has been radically altered in the last 50 years. For example, in 1997, 26 apples contained the same amount of iron as one apple in 1914. It's probably worse now, unless you're buying organic, which I'm going to get to in a moment. So, what's happening? There's a major lack of minerals in the soil. There's another, I mean, these are proper studies, I've got the references there. The US and the UK government stats indicate that levels of trace minerals in fruit and vegetables fell by up to 76% between 1940 and 1991. 76%. So what's happened in the last 50, 60, 70 years? Why is the nutrient density of food dropping? Chemical farming cannot replace what natural farming would naturally replace, which is minerals. If you're only putting 3 minerals into the soil to make the plants look healthy, what about the other 80-odd minerals? At some point they become leached out through topsoil eroding, through plants just pulling the minerals out and the farmer not replacing them. You know, it's common sense stuff. So then you've got the potential solution, which is organic crops. Out of 41 published studies on organic crops, it was found that organic crops had 27% more vitamin C, 21% more iron, 30% more magnesium, and 13% more phosphorus. Now those were published studies. You know, so that's already a 20 to 30% increase on non-organic food. So if you're paying 20 or 30% more for the organic food, go for it. It's totally worth it. Because these numbers are also quite low, because there's a lot of so-called fringe science at the moment. People who are really just spending their own money to do some statistical research and analysis. You know, it may not be double-blind, placebo-controlled, you know, gold standard analysis, but they're people trying to figure it out. And one of these people are a lady by the name of Victoria Pt2 in the States. She's got a book called Green for Life, very good book, and this is one of the tables that comes out of her book. She's basically just taken 5 foods and gone and looked at what is in them. Organic food and non-organic food. So total mineral ash, which is this column, that's the total amount of minerals in food. We're looking at least double to triple in all the foods. So from 4 to 10, 6 to 10, 7 to 24. So that means there's at least 2 times to 3 times the total amount of minerals in there. Now the food is the same weight on the shelf. You know, you're getting an organic celery and a conventional celery. They're the same weight. They're both 100 grams. But the one's double the price, the organic one. You think like, rip off, it's the same amount of food, come on, these guys are having me on. But what people don't realize is that minerals are very, very tiny little things. They really don't weigh that much. So you could have twice the mineralization in your organic celery as you do in your non-organic one, but it's not going to make a weight difference. It will, however, make a taste difference and a health difference long term. And that's the key. So pay the extra. Where it gets really interesting are in the trace minerals. Now, many of these published studies look at only the macronutrients and the major minerals. They don't look at the trace minerals. And for me, that's the most important side to look at, because it's the trace minerals that we're so radically deficient in the Western diets. So if you look at something like iron, I pick on it because it's the major one. You know, so many people are iron deficient today, suffering with iron anemia. What have we got here? Snap beans, 10 versus 227. It's 27 times higher. 20 versus 94 in cabbage. 9 versus 516 in lettuce. 1 versus 1,938 in tomatoes. 49 versus 1,584 in spinach. You know, so you'd have to eat, what's that, 2,000 tomatoes to get the same amount of iron as you would in one organic one. Like, I mean, these are very, you know, she's obviously picked certain foods. It's never going to look exactly that extreme. But certainly it's an extreme perspective. And if it's even close to that, even if it's not close to that, it would still be amazing.
Do you think that this research is applicable to South Africa as well?
Absolutely.
Obviously it's dependent on what the organic farmers put into the soil. And
Yeah.
are they putting the stuff back into the soil?
For sure. I mean, one of the things about it is that you can't use chemical fertilizers. You really got to get into mulching and composting to improve your soils. And because you aren't poisoning your soils with pests, you've got a naturally rich source of bacteria present in the soil. And the bacteria is going to help the plants absorb the minerals. Because even if there are minerals in the soil, if there's no bacteria, the plants can't access those minerals. In the crops that are growing out today, the bacterial levels in soils, I don't remember the stat, I had a farmer actually tell me, are at a point now where they're borderline dead. Like literally bacterial levels are so low in soils of commercial farms that the soils can be classified, or near classification of dead soil. And when that happens, I mean, I don't know how the plants will survive. So definitely. I mean, South Africa is very heavy-handed with chemical agriculture, especially genetically modified agriculture. And GM crops are very chemical-intensive crops too. Someone else said that?
Well, I've got a question.
Yes.
I can't find anyone else. It seems now there's so many different certifying
Bodies.
Yes. And some of them actually allow for minimal use of pesticides.
Yes.
So how do you know like what's what? You've got to go and research each one separately, which I've now started doing. You see the certification on the packaging.
The thing about the bodies is that they are certifying you to either EU standards, US standards, Japanese standards. Those are the 3 key standards in the world at the moment. So South Africa doesn't have its own organic certification protocol. So the European standard is more stringent than the American standard. So all of our products are certified to European standards. So when you see the certification tab, you should see a number at the bottom, EU or USDA, something like that. And that'll indicate which standard it's to.
Because like I've got some of those, it's not raw, but those NAN's organic oat cakes, and it says certified UK 5.
Okay.
So I looked at UK 5 standards, and it sort of says minimal use of pesticides. That's the last time I'm buying that.
Sure, I mean, organic isn't the ultimate solution, but it's certainly a great step in the right direction. And I mean, look at this stat, just to give you an idea. University of Stuttgart have done a 10-year research study on organic food and non-organic food, not from a mineral perspective, but just from a poison perspective. And they found that organic fruits and vegetables had on average 180 times lower pesticide content. And only 5% of the samples that they tested were objectionable. Only 5%. So look, if you buy organic food, you've got a 5% chance of getting a few pesticides in, but your overall chance is 180 times lower than if you're buying non-organic food. And so for me, it's like, it's definitely worth the money.
Do worm farms equate compost heaps? Because I always made compost heaps.
Worm farm, that's an extra. So the worm tea is an extra nutrient that you could add, mainly for bacteria, but also for trace minerals. Compost heaps are building the base of the soil, for sure. You can't just have worm farms. Composting comes first, definitely.
The one thing I'd like to praise is that the Mount Nelson has now got a chef who is organically growing so much of his vegetables.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Incredible. He's got massive farms, and at least...
we used to do courses just next to Mount Nelson. I wonder if that had anything to do with it. Sending out the good vibes. But people are changing. I mean, this is the thing. Regardless of what crazy stuff comes out of the media, people understand. Poison on my food, not a good idea. More nutrients, good idea. Those two together, even one or the other by itself, is enough for most people who are at least marginally level-headed to go like, definitely. It's not a question. And people today are realizing that actually the long-term benefit of spending more money on making sure your body is well looked after is way better than spending money on trying to fix it once the wheels have come off. And that's really expensive.
Just a question. There's been recently another round of media spin around organic not being...
Over the last few days?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
That's why I'm mentioning it so much.
I mean, surely they have to reveal their sources if they are...
Oh, the sources are there, but the problem with most media companies, they really don't have the time anymore to do investigative journalism. It's really just journalism on a plate. So he has a story, it's emailed to me, that sounds great, we'll just shift the wording around a bit and put it out. There's no actual digging anymore, like the old journalists would dig there to find the truth of the story. It doesn't happen. Or it's very rare. So what you get is just regurgitation on a worldwide scale.
Is it like raw food rocks and they're not printed?
So, I mean, if you look at certain areas on the internet who have debunked the study, it's now been shown that the main researcher actually did the research for big tobacco to prove that tobacco was safe, smoking cigarettes. It's found that the university that they did the research at is funded by the second largest GMO company on the planet. There's so many dodgy things about it. So it's been totally debunked, but they won't write a follow-up story. So, sorry, we were idiots, we didn't actually dig around enough, and we sent out disinformation. That's where people actually have to realize that it's their own responsibility to get to the truth. That you can't just assume that what you read in the newspaper, see on the TV is truth. It's usually just sensationalist. It's just to sell. So we actually have to go, actually, let me dig around a little bit. It can only take, it's often 5 minutes of just going, organic food, blah, 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 on the internet, and you get so many sources, dig in there, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is actually garbage. So it's making the dumb people more dumb, and it's allowing those who have some awareness to see through it. Because I think most people who know anything about organic food would look at the article and say, spin. If you're the kind of person who goes, I told you organic food is no better, it's like, okay, fine, whatever, eat whatever.
Eat the bad stuff.
Yeah, I mean, geez, there's a lot of bad stuff. Someone has to eat it, I suppose. I mean, that sounds a bit facetious, but jeez, it's about personal responsibility, personal integrity, and actually not assuming someone else is going to figure it out and do it for you. That's what's gotten us into the mess we're in. Going, oh no, they'll look after us. They? Who's they? They have corporate, funds that need to be filled. They want to make more money. And that's actually the next slide. So in this book, The 100-Year Lie, Randall Fitzgerald did loads of research on chemicals, medical industry, food industry. And basically, 1,000 new chemicals are added to our diet every year. Obviously the junk food diet, 1,000 chemicals. And there are more than 700 synthetic chemicals in our bodies. More than 100,000 man-made chemicals exist in our environment, and only a fraction of those have actually been tested for human toxicity. Only a fraction. I believe it's around 2%. Of that 2%, 1% was found to be toxic to humans. It's a pretty bad track record already. So what's going on here? I mean, the food industry also purposefully strips minerals out of food. They do that because you buy more. Why? Because you're still hungry. Minerals are what turns the body's hunger signal off. So your body's searching for minerals when it's hungry. If you remove the minerals from the food, well then you just keep eating because the body won't turn off its hunger signal. It'll just say, you didn't get it, you didn't get more, so it actually forces you to overeat. This is why junk food is almost so addictive. I mean, they also put addictive chemicals and smells and all sorts of stuff in there to actually physically addict you. But just from a purely mineral deficient perspective, your body forces you to keep eating it. So what's the story? Is it a global conspiracy? What's happening? It's just money. You know? I mean, look at these stats. They're a little bit old, but they serve the purpose. American sales of fast food totaled 163 billion in 2005. The food, beverage, candy and restaurant advertising expenditures were 11 billion rand, or dollars, sorry, in 2004 versus 9.5 million to promote healthy eating. So basically, most people are still watching TV, they're still listening to radio, you know, that's where they get the information. And the information they're getting there is very much skewed towards the people who have the money to advertise on those channels. And it's not the health guys. I do not advertise on TV. I do not advertise in magazines. I do not advertise in newspaper, mainly because it's too expensive. And our profit margins are too low, so we don't have an advertising budget at all. And that's the case for, I think, almost all companies or people out there who are actually into health food. Because health food is actually not the best financially beneficial food because it makes people full and then they don't want to eat more. So you can eat a handful of goji berries and you're like, that's it, I'm done for the day. And I'm like, no, eat more goji berries. But you don't need to because you're full. You know, have one green juice for hardly any calories, but you're full. You don't feel like eating for another few hours. I don't sell green juice, but if I did, it wouldn't be a good business model. That's the story. It's just about the money. A lot of people have ideas that they're further conspiracies. Oh, you can spend hours on the internet if you want to dig into those. Just eat better. So for me, true raw, which is how I'm going to get into what to eat from a Rawlicious perspective, is about this slide. And it's really just this simple. You want to increase the quality of the food you eat. Now, quality is not the shop you buy it from, the packaging it's in, the salesperson did a good job. Quality is about mineral nutrient density. So organic, homegrown, nutrient rich, that's quality. At some point in the near future, I see packaging will come with a full analysis of all minerals, vitamins, amino acids. At least maybe it won't be on the packaging, but it'll be inside or on the internet. Right now it's so expensive to do that very few health companies can do it. I mean, I just did another 4 of our products and it cost us nearly 30,000 rand. Radically expensive to do an analysis on food. Now when you buy an apple from Woolworths, it should come with a mineral breakdown. These are the minerals. You'd be like, wow, check the difference between organic and non-organic. You know, we're not there yet, but I'm holding out for it.
What did you test for new products?
That's just the simple stuff, the macronutrients and a few minerals.
Protein and carbohydrates and stuff.
That's not even looking at a full 92 mineral analysis. I mean, that would be like tens of thousands of rands per thing. And then coupled with the increase in quality, you also want to decrease the processing. Because you now spent the money on the good stuff, you don't want to damage the good stuff in there. So we're talking about low temperature cooking. So what is low temperature cooking? Dehydrating and then water cooking. So boiling or steaming, that kind of thing. That's still appropriate because it does a lot less damage to the food. And things that cook at high temperatures, like an oven, 160, 180, 220. At those temperatures, you're losing almost all the nutritional value. Microwave oven, you've lost all the nutritional value. Frying pan, we're talking high temperatures. Massive destruction. And then coupled with that, no chemicals. So don't destroy the nutrients and don't eat more chemicals. There are enough of them in our environment that we just breathe in, let alone having to eat them. Do you all write this down? If you forget, you can look on YouTube. Any questions on that before I move into raw food specifically? I like to start with this slide because what I found with the whole raw food movement, kind of like a religion, is that people get very much into, I want to eat cooked food. Cooked food is just below me. I'm like, seriously? It sounds a bit of like a superiority complex. And the only difference between a superiority complex and an inferiority complex is the one's more expressive than the other. They amount to about exactly the same thing though. They really are. It's just insecurity. So what I'm looking at here is going perspective. Yes, cooking damages nutrients, and the lower the temperature, the less damage. But what we're saying with raw is we're not saying don't cook your food. We're just saying cook it a bit less. Cook it at lower temperatures. Keep it a little bit more in integrity. That's why I mentioned, because once I'm done with this next section, you might want to sell your stove. And that's not the point either. Although you could make a lot of money from selling your stove, and then you could buy a dehydrator, and a blender, and a juicer, and a spiralizer, and a water filter, and a ceramic knife, all of it, just by selling your stove. That's pretty cool. But hold off on selling the stove, because it may devalue your house. Okay, so why raw?